The summary on what I have learned throughout the first semester on PED 1, the child and adolescent learner and learn subject. Week 1, Human Development, Meaning, Concepts, and Approaches. Human development refers to physical, cognitive, and psychosocial development of human throughout the lifespan. Human development is the pattern of movement or change that begins at conception and continues through the lifespan. Development includes growth and decline. This means that development can be positive or negative. Two approaches to human development. First is traditional approach, show extensive change from birth to adolescence, little or no change in adulthood, and decline in late old age. Second one is lifespan approach, emphasizes that even in adulthood, development change takes place as it does during childhood. Week 2, the stages of human development and developmental tasks. Prenatal period from conception to birth. It involves tremendous growth from single cell to an organism, complete with brain and behavioral capabilities. Infancy from birth to 2 years. It is a time of extreme dependence on adults. Many psychological activities are just beginning, just like language, symbolic thought, sensory motor, coordination, and social learning. Middle and late childhood, 6 to 11 years of age, the elementary school years. The fundamental skills of reading, writing, and arithmetic are mastered. The child formally exposed to the theme large world and its culture. Achievements become more central theme of child's world and self-control increases. Week 3. Teachers as consumers and users of research. Teachers as researchers, the scientific method, research design, data gathering technique. Teachers as consumers and end users of research. Research enables teachers to come up with an informed decision on what to teach and how to teach. This involves decisions related to educational policies, curriculum, effective learning process, and even those involving research too. It can help us to be more knowledgeable about how to fit our teaching development levels of our learners. There are 5 steps of the scientific development. First is identify and define the problem. Second, determine the hypothesis. Third, collect and analyze data. Fourth, formulate conclusions. And the fifth is apply conclusions to the original hypothesis. Week 4, Sigmund Freud's psychosocial theory. Freud believed that life was built around tension and pleasure. All tension was due to the build-up of libido. Freud also conceptualized the personality as having 3 parts: the id, ego, and superego. Psychosexual stages of development. Oral stage, 0 to 1 year old. And this is the first stage of personality development, which the libido is centered in the baby's mouth. It gets much satisfaction from putting all sorts of things in this mouth to satisfy the libido. Anal stage, 1 to 3 years old. The libido now becomes focused on the anus, and the child derives great pleasure from defecating. Phallic stage, 3 to 6 years old. In this stage, the child becomes concentrated on the genitals, and the masturbation in both sexes becomes a new source of pleasure. Latency stage, 5 or 6 to puberty. In this stage, the libido is dormant. Much of the child's energy is channeled into developing new skills and acquiring new knowledge, and play becomes largely confined to other children or to the same gender. Genital stage, puberty to adult. This is the last stage of Freud's psychosexual theory of personality development and begins in puberty. This is the time of adolescent sexual experimentation, where sexual instinct is directed to heterosexual pleasure rather than self-pleasure like during the phallic stage. Week 5, Piaget stages of cognitive development theory. Stage 1, sensory motor stage. This is the stage when a child who is initially reflexive in grasping, sucking, and reaching becomes more organized in his movement and activity. Stage 2, pre-operational stage. At this age, the child can now make mental representation and is able to pretend the child is now ever closer to the use of symbols. Stage 3, concrete operational stage. This stage is characterized by the ability of the child to think logically but only in terms of concrete objects. Stage 4, formal operational stage. They can now solve abstract problems and can hypothesize. Week 6, Erik Erikson's psychosocial theory of development. There are 8 stages of development. 1. Trust versus mistrust, from birth to 12 months. 2. Autonomy versus shame, 1 to 3 years. 3. Initiative versus guilt, 3 to 6 years. 4. Industry versus inferiority, 6 to 12 years. 5. Identity versus role confusion, 12 to 18 years. 6. Intimacy versus isolation, young adult. 7. Generativity versus stagnation, middle adulthood. 8. Integrity versus despair, late adulthood. Week 7, Kohlberg's theory of moral development. Kohlberg believed that moral development depended on moral reasoning and was learned in 3 levels. First is free conventional reasoning. Moral reasoning directed initially by the expectation of punishment from external sources and later by an interest in personal reward. Second is conventional reasoning, initially to get approval and later in response to law and a sense of duty. And third is post-conventional reasoning, moral reasoning guided by community versus individual rights and later by universal principles of ethics. Week 8, Vygotsky Sociocultural Theory. Scaffolding is Vygotsky's term for the appropriate assistance given by the teacher to assist the learner accomplish a task. Scaffolding should involve the judicious assistance given by the adult or peer so that the child can move from the zone of actual to the zone of proximal development. Week 9, Bronfenbrenner's Ecological Theory. Bronfenbrenner believed that a person's development was affected by everything in their surrounding environment. He divided a person's environment into 5 different levels. Bronfenbrenner's bioecological model, the structure of environment. First is microsystem. Is the system closest to the person and the one in which he has direct contact, like for example, family, school, and neighborhood. Second is the mesosystem. This layer serves as the connection between the structures of the child microsystem. For example, the mesosystem will include the link of connection between the parents and teachers. And the third is the exosystem. This layer refers to the bigger social system in which the child does not function directly. The last part of structure of the environment is the macrosystem. This layer is found in the outermost part in the child's environment. The macrosystem includes the cultural values, customs, and laws. Week 10, Prenatal Period. Prenatal development is divided into 3 periods. First is the germinal period, from conception to 2 weeks. It includes the creation of the zygote, continued cell division, and the attachment of the zygote to the uterine wall. And the second one is embryonic period, 2 weeks to 2 months. In this period, the support system for the embryo develops rapidly. There are 3 life support systems: the placenta, umbilical cord, and the amnion. And the third one is the fetal period. This is the last stages of prenatal development, where until 9 months, when the infant is born, dramatic cords and organ system mature to the point at which life can be sustained outside the womb. Week 11, Physical Development of Infants and Toddlers. A summary of what infants and toddlers can do physically. Physical health standards 1. The child demonstrates adequate growth like weight, height, and head circumference. Standards 2. The child has adequate sensory system to participate in daily activities. Standard 3. The child has adequate stamina to participate in daily activities. Week 12, Cognitive Development of Infants and Toddlers. A summary of what infants and toddlers can do cognitively. Domain, language, pre-reading, and pre-math. Language, 0 to 6 months, watches primary caregiver intently as she speaks to him or her. Pre-reading and pre-math matching. The child is able to do math, identical object, colors, shapes, symbols. Brain is composed of numerous cells called neurons that connect each other to function. Cell connection are what we call synapses, sometimes also referred to as synapses connections. Language with development. Preschool children expand rapidly in their vocabulary through fast mapping. Language and social interaction. Vygotsky asserted and that preschool children are able to achieve their highest cognitive development or language development included on their own, and they can improve their cognitive development through the use of scaffolding.